IVM.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Musafir Stories, India's very own travel podcast, where each week we discuss the story of travelers in their own words and relive their experiences with you, our listeners. Hi guys, I'm your host Saif, and before we get on with today's episode, a quick shout out to Ashutosh Kumar from Bangalore, who wrote in to share about how much he enjoyed listening to our previous episode about Lucknow. Ashutosh, thank you so much for taking the time out and writing to us. It is much appreciated and our only source of motivation. Thank you again. We'd also like to give a quick shout out to the podcast we've been listening to for a while now. It's called The Writer and Geek Show, and it's hosted by the brothers Vishnu and Shankar. Each week, they delve deep into topics ranging from science to technology to history and even psychology-related topics at times. They've done episodes covering the history of coffee, continental drift, the race to the South Pole, as well as a primer on blockchain technology. So go check them out. I'm sure you'll enjoy listening to them. Links to the podcast are mentioned in the show notes section for your reference. Now on with today's episode. Our guests today on the show are the duo behind the road trip planning platform Scout My Trip, Vineet and Deepak. Previously, Vineet was one of the co-founders of Indie Blogger, and Deepak was a veteran in the payments industry. Together, they started Scout My Trip earlier in 2016 to help ease road trip planning in India. Today, they're here with us to talk about sparking a collaborative initiative called the Road Trippers Club, a community for road trip enthusiasts. So sit back and enjoy as we find out more about the Road Trippers Club. So with that introduction, I'd like to welcome Vineet and Deepak, the duo behind the Road Trippers Club, a road travel club for road trip enthusiasts, beginners, and those who love hitting the roads. Deepak and Vineet, thank you so much for being a part of the Musafir Stories and welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Saif. It's actually quite a pleasure to be here because we've heard your podcast so often, and it's actually good to be here on this podcast finally.
Thank you, and just for the reference of our listeners, that was Vineet, by the way.
And here's a hi from Deepak also. It's been a pleasure listening to you for all these months, and we actually feel that we have arrived when we are on Musafir Stories right now. So thank you for this.
I think both of you are being very humble. I'm just talking to two of the pioneers in the space, in the travel tech space. And so it's really our pleasure, the pleasure of the Musafir Stories, that you guys could make it. But before we speak more and get into details, the intro I gave out you two is quite concise. So why don't you guys go ahead and give us a little bit of an intro about the Road Trippers Club, as well as set some context about how this came into being.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, Saif, for giving the mic to us finally. So Deepak and I, have been part of the travel community for a while. Both of us have done a lot of biking together. Incidentally, put together both of us on our two wheels, we've done like 500,000 kilometers.
Oh, wow.
That's the nook and cranny of the country. I mean, north, south, east, west, we've done it all. Amongst the two of us, we would have covered a lot of India on the highways. And, which is when we kind of, got really involved with a lot of biking clubs. We got involved with communities which promote traveling on the Royal Enfield, the Bullet. And which is where we also, teamed up to create Scout My Trip.
Okay.
And while we were doing, our work on Scout My Trip, a bunch of us, a lot of bikers, road trippers, we also felt that we need to create something for car owners because there's a lot out there for biking clubs, but there's really not much out there for car owners, which is how, with Deepak and I and a bunch of other guys, we came together and we thought that we'll start something called the Road Trippers Club, in short, RTC.
Wonderful. And
that kind of caught on, and RTC is like, synonymous with a bunch of guys who take their cars out on the highway these days. Right. So that's essentially, how things kind of progressed from where we started, me and Deepak started, and where finally, a bunch of guys came together for RTC.
I mean, just to kind of put this also in perspective. So the government basically tells you that, the national highway network is around 3.5 lakh kilometers in the country at this point of time. And most of us who call ourselves as bikers have done upwards of, 300, 350,000. Basically, every single nook and cranny of the country has been explored. Between the two of us, I think there's hardly a place that we haven't gone on the 2 wheels and now on the 4 wheels also.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, so how is the scene? I know you two as bikers, you said you've covered as pretty much every nook and corner of the country, right? But how's the scene or the situation with four-wheelers and enthusiasts who like to, say, go on 4 wheels, right? How is the scenario there, Vineet?
Yeah, glad you asked. So we also have gone through a learning curve, Saif. So when we, started Road Trippers Club, we kind of approached it like how we approached starting a biking club. But we soon realized that with car owners, a lot other people are involved. I mean, let's call them stakeholders. So you have your spouse,
right?
You have your kids. You sometimes even have your parents. 10% chance you'll have a pet.
Sure.
So there are so many things involved here, and typically what we realized was that this was an audience which was dying to hit the highways, and they're just not able to find the right outlet where they feel safe, where they don't have to worry about their daughter in the crowd, or their spouse or their pet, saying that this is a safe environment for my family, for me to travel, and if something happens, there are people to take care of me. So while, there are those self-drive expeditions out there, this is the only club that comes to mind which talks about road trips. We don't talk about off-roading. We don't talk about hard driving. We don't do any of that, stuff primarily. We are just saying, let's go hit the road, have some fun. And hence, that term got coined saying camaraderie on 4 wheels.
Absolutely.
So this is a huge audience out there. Just to give you a sense of how we've also grown in the last 3 months, our first drive was in February, first week of Feb 2018.
Okay.
There were 9 cars, for that drive, and around 24 people. The last drive, which happened the previous week, we had 18 cars.
Wow.
And 60 people and 5 pets.
Sure. Let's forget the pets. As you said, I'm sorry to interject, but as you did point out, like going on a bike it feels more like a one-man game, right? And this is more like a team approach to it. You have, as you said, many stakeholders involved, so keeping everybody happy as well as keeping that sense of the pleasure of the drive, right? Maintaining that as well. It is a fine balance, and I think by being a part of the community, being part of a community, one can enjoy that drive much more. So I think it's a great initiative, and as you said, the audience is also, it's not a very niche audience you're looking at, right? It's pretty much like everybody in the family plus the pets as well, as you said. So it's for them. So it's pretty mainstream in that way, and I'm really surprised that this market, this audience hasn't been like serviced, or there isn't like a community for this, right?
When we also, try to reach out to different clubs and communities, we found that there is nothing like this, which is not restricted to a particular type of vehicle. Like you have Scorpio owner groups, they're pretty big. You have the gang of dusters. You have, an Isuzu owner group.
Right.
You have a Thar owners group, and they're pretty big on off-roading. With Road Trippers Club, all we say is that you need to get 4 wheels. It could even be a self-drive car, or you could just borrow your friend's car. But you just need to have any set of 4 wheels.
Okay.
That's all we say. And we also encourage carpooling. So, you could come up with a bunch of friends and have one car. So it also helps you optimize on the fuel cost.
Absolutely.
So one of the other things that, we kind of very quickly realized was a lot of people. So, the car sales have actually been increasing, and the SUV sales has also been increasing year on year.
Sure.
The last year, I think the numbers that are being talked about is around 17% increase year on year that, SUVs are being sold. So these are vehicles which are road ready. These are vehicles which beg to be taken out on the highway, which, you're very comfortable driving because there are hardly any breakdowns. There are hardly any problems that you face with the machine itself. The road network has improved drastically. You're finding that people are building newer and better and far-reaching highways that are there connecting different cities.
Sure.
So all these are improving. But the fact is that people are still scared about taking their vehicle alone to a place which they are not very familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
So this also becomes a platform where people, when they're traveling in groups, get a first-hand experience of being kind of trained, kind of being told how to drive in a group, how to drive in a highway, how to drive safely, what are things to look out for, what are things to be taken care of. In case there's a breakdown, what's the bare minimum that you need to be prepared with. So it gives them a sense of training and a sense of well-being when they're traveling with this kind of a group. And I think it's a very, very major thing that we are able to bring to this through Road Trippers Club.
Absolutely. I think, as you rightly pointed out, right, that sense of camaraderie, that sense of, I think, being safe, that sense is there. I think when you are in a group, when you have been well educated and informed about little things like breakdowns in the highway and things like that as well, that also adds to the sense of confidence when you're traveling, right? Because when you're by yourself, you're kind of okay dealing with these things, but when you are with, say, friends or families, when you have these other stakeholders, as you mentioned, with you, you'd be better off being well prepared. So I think it's a great way of educating and creating awareness more than anything, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Community, right? So wonderful. I think it's a great initiative overall. And as you guys pointed out, with the infrastructure also in place now, I think the only gap in this whole ecosystem now is a community. And I think Road Trippers Club is doing a great job in giving individual car owners and I think people who love traveling with family, with friends as a group, to be a part of this community and enjoy road tripping, because as rightly pointed out on your website as well, there's no better way of enjoying a trip, travel, an experience than by hitting the road, right? You might do it by a plane, by a train. Each one has maybe bits and pieces in terms of advantages, but for a complete experience, I, from my personal experience, have felt that hitting the road is the best way to experience, right from, say, the people to the food to the different things and just the journey in itself, right? I can't remember a time when I've said, oh, I really like looking back at that plane journey I'd taken to, say, Bombay or anything, right? Bombay or Goa. I mean, trains are still a little better, but I think nothing comes close to doing it by road, and that's why I say it's a great initiative, and more people need to be aware of this and be a part of this. So tell us how one can be a part of this, Vineet and Deepak.
Yeah, so being part of RTC right now it's pretty simple. You log on to roadtrippersclub.com.
Okay.
And you quickly create a profile yourself and join the overall community. Now that is the first step in the process. The second step in the process is that we've also created certain micro communities within the website. So if you join us for a overnight drive, you kind of become part of an inner circle, and that's kind of exclusive to people who have done one overnight drive. You could have joined us for a brunch run, or you could have joined us for a city meetup. But if you do not do an overnight drive, you're not part of that circle. So the first step is create a profile on the site. Second step is join us for a drive. There are no membership fees. In fact, we go on to the extent of saying that even your club t-shirt is given to you as long as you complete 3 overnight drives. So you don't need to pay money for your t-shirt. It's yours if you come for drives.
That's lovely.
Yeah. The thing is, in all of this, we realized that the sense of camaraderie is so high because your families are involved and it's not just individuals. So, your spouses find like-minded people they can connect with. Mm-hmm. The kids have their own little circles and they play their own stuff. And that's one of the reasons we realized parents love coming here, because their kids are kind of sorted. They can do their own stuff. And the parents are actually doing their own stuff. So kind of safe for them.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to also add, when you spoke about people learning, was every drive we have tried to do something new in terms of learning. So one of the drives we had done was to the Western Ghats, where we actually taught people how to negotiate a curve. one of the drives we actually taught people how to do engine braking. And these are simple skills, which I feel people need to know when they're doing long distances.
Sure.
And these all go a long step in, long way in terms of building a sense of confidence.
Absolutely.
And there have been instances, for example, there was one instance where one of the club members got rear-ended by a taxi driver. So, just the fact that he, all of us were there with him. We were there with him when he was filing the complaint, when he was through the entire process. We were there with his family. And these are things that, really go a long way, because it's not just about an expedition. It's about all of us being there when we need each other. And it's kind of the ethos, of this club.
And I think also what happens is, when we involve the family, when the wife and the kids actually get involved in helping the driver. So when the husband drives, or if sometimes the wife drives, the spouse basically is the navigator. So they are also involved in finding out where exactly, what are the sights and sounds, photography along the way, where are these people staying, what are they doing? These kind of things are actually also, we tell them what to look out for. So it kind of involves the entire family while they are actually enjoying themselves on the road trip.
Absolutely. It does make the trip much more enjoyable. And as I said, it feels more like a team game rather than a single-player game here, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And guys, also tell us a little bit about, so you did mention that there's literally the only thing one needs to do is go sign up on your website, theroadtrippersclub.com. I got that right?
Yes.
Right. So we will, just for the reference of our listeners, we will be including the links as well as social media handles of Road Trippers Club. So one can go ahead and sign up for these. What I was saying is, as you mentioned, it's just as simple as going and signing up for these. But when you are setting out on a ride, what kind of preparation goes into this, Vineet and Deepak?
There are a few things with respect to preparation. One is all of us, whoever is part of the club, kind of, start putting out ideas in terms of places we would all like to go. Like right now also there is a long discussion going on in terms of what to do on the last weekend of April. There is one big camp which says that they want to do something in night photography. So the first step is actually in terms of deciding where to go. And it's kind of all which comes from the community. The second step essentially then becomes in terms of who kind of becomes the drive captain.
Okay.
So a drive captain typically is a guy who has been there for a few drives or all of them and takes the initiative and the charge of the entire thing. So that is in terms of the pre-drive preparations, so to speak. After this, what happens in terms of the entire preparation is we send out information to everybody who's on the drive in terms of what all they need to pack. Things they need to carry, something your vehicle may require.
One before that, of course, we have on the website, we have an event page, which basically talks about, where we are going next and what all are the things that we are going to do there. And you kind of click on a button and then you're added to a group. And that group becomes the next level of conversations where we kind of tell you what are the costs involved. Every single expenditure that happens on the trip is shared equally amongst the participants on the drive. So there is no money that is taken for management of the drive. Based on the size of the group, we negotiate with the hotels and we get the best rates for them, which is an all-inclusive rate. Everything is kind of spent and charged equally amongst all the participants that are coming for the drive.
So I just wanted to be clear that it's only the costs, the actuals, right? Whatever is spent during the trip in terms of the food or the lodging and things like that, it's only that is what the
participant pays.
The member of the community pays, right? It's no extra service charge or extra management cost that Road Trippers Club is charging, correct?
Nope, none at all. In fact, once the lump rate is actually negotiated for the hotel, the food, and in case there are specific guided tours or activities that we plan for there, the total amount is actually told to the participants, divided by the number of participants. All that we add is just the GST portion of it, because that's something that goes to the government.
Sure.
And that's about all that we add. Everything else is kind of shared equally amongst the participants of the drive.
Lovely. So guys, if this isn't enough motivation for you to go join a community like this, I don't know what is. And even better, since you guys are going as a group, you are probably getting a better discount, a better rate as compared to if you would go by yourself. So not only is the trip more enjoyable, not only is there camaraderie and the sense of confidence, not only do you learn new things, but you, for the money-minded folks, you also get a better discount on things. So if that isn't motivation enough for you guys to go join a club, a community like this, I don't know what is. But thank you for calling that out, Deepak. Go on. Is there more in terms of the preparation that you guys do?
Yeah. Before I get into the preparation, and I know I tend to forget things, you mentioned the thing about being, money-minded, right?
Right.
So, I really want everybody to start thinking like how me and Deepak do sometimes. Like if we take our spouses out on a weekend drive, correct, with the club, and we'll probably spend around $4,000 for our stay, all our meals. And these are like super exotic meals. You'll have like fish coming by the hordes, meat flowing and everything happening. Pretty extensive food, and you'll have a good, comfortable stay. You pack in your money for the fuel, which could be around $2,500-3,000. So within $6,000 to $7,000, you could actually spend an entire weekend out of Bombay, out of traffic, away from all the madness. And that is still lesser than what you would have spent if you were in the city partying out with friends. Absolutely. And it's only more stressful.
Absolutely.
So it's actually, it saves you money.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Save you money. That's what I learned, and it's there's nothing more relaxing than this. And coming back to the preparation, so once we figure out, once the groups and all are made, we start sending out information in terms of what they need to pack. Like specifically, certain times they need to even pack mosquito repellents or clothing, stuff for their car. We ensure that they have got their stepneys checked. Their coolant is all topped up, or if they carry an extra can, carry a can of oil if required. So these are simple things which are required for the car and for the comfort of yourself and your family. And we also recommend vehicle checkup before you hit the highway. So it could mean checking your brakes, your tail lamps, your headlamps, and the overall health of the car. These are some of the preparation, checklists that we kind of put into practice. But it's not very extensive unless and until we do something which is off, which is beyond the comfort zone. Like if we were doing an off-roading event, that would require a different level of preparation altogether. And we did do an off-roading event for women on the occasion of Women's Day.
Okay.
And the guys at Mahindra Off-Roading Academy were kind enough to accommodate 22 women on the occasion of Women's Day to actually give them a free certificate course. So all of them went through an entire day of training on how to actually drive in off-road conditions, and like pretty tough off-roading conditions.
That's so. I think I just want to call out that this is another perk of being a part of a community, because if you're just by yourself, I don't think such deals or even such opportunities come by you that often. So one more reason to be a part of a community, a great community like this. And I'm sorry I keep interjecting, but there's too many good things about this, Vineet, that I have to keep calling out.
Hey, no, I totally appreciate that. I think you were adding on the right points.
We'll give you more examples like these very soon.
Yes.
Interestingly, the Women's Day drive that happened, we called it shifting gears.
Okay.
Because there is too much, focus on the commercialization of Women's Day and not really much happening, which can really empower a woman,
On the ground.
On the ground. So we felt that we need to do something very different, and what came very naturally to Road Trippers Club was going off the comfort zone. So we took them onto the off-road, and hence, that name came into this thing called shifting gears. Incidentally, my wife gave that name. Shout out to her.
That's brilliant. I think that's exactly hitting the nail on the head, as they say, right? Because it's become, as you said, very commercialized and very superficial also to some level. It's only been nice words with not a lot of actions following up. So you guys did the right thing and did something to change things on the ground or on the road, maybe.
On the road, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So lovely. Hats off to you guys for doing something that actually makes a difference and makes people more empowered.
Thank you.
So so after that, once you kind of get signed up on the event page and you sign up for a drive, all that you basically need to do is listen to the captain and meet us at the designated place and time, which is all through the GPS locations, etc., which are given to them. The captain also is tasked with, charting the entire route for the trip. Okay. So he will, kind of tell you very clearly through the app where you need to kind of stop, which is the first stop, which is a lunch break stop, which is a third stop. Mm-hmm. We also take into account, each of these vehicles. So we don't kind of ask only for an SUV or only for a sedan. We have hatchbacks, sedans, SUVs, 4x4s, very powerful vehicles we recently had a vehicle which is a CNG vehicle, one of the least powered vehicles in the country, all of them traveling together. So it is very important for you to kind of be very sure where you need to stop, what you need to look out for. And we make sure that, that kind of an experience nobody is lacking for.
That's great.
So this is another important facet of how do we inspire a little bit more of confidence amongst drivers who are driving various different types of vehicles on the highway.
I think that's brilliant. And as you said, being in the company of people who have been doing this for a while always gives that extra bit of confidence, that extra sense of safety, that safety net, right? So I think it's really good in that terms as well. You guys are leaving no stone unturned, and really hats off to you guys for taking this brilliant initiative and thinking this through, like end to end, planning it completely and making it a comprehensive experience as well for the participants. Now that we have covered most of the things in terms of the planning, right?
Yes.
If we can get to the meat, it is the actual trips that also form. I mean, the whole journey in itself is right from the beginning, from the preparation to the end is what makes the experience. But I think it is the actual destination as well that kind of outlines how the experience was or is. So just give us a sense of the type of trips done so far. You said you've started about 3 months ago. So what are the kind of trips that you guys have done? And give us a little bit of a flavor as well in terms of, say, the different terrains that you've gone through, the group sizes, etc., and the nature of the trip themselves.
So since our inception in February, we have done I think 8 drives totally, okay. Which include overnight drives, which include breakfast runs, which include even a city meetup, and of course the off-roading event that was exclusively for women. Right. So we've done around 8 to 9 events so far in the last 3 months. It's been a very, very fast-paced, hectic time for us. Mm-hmm. But I think the sheer joy of meeting new travelers every time keeps driving us. So each drive we've tried to do something different, The first drive we did was to a beach called Dapoli. Mm-hmm. It was nothing very extra, but just the fact that it was the first drive of the Road Trippers Club made it very special. Okay. I would have been happy if like 4 cars or 2 to 3 cars had come for that drive. I would have been extremely happy. Uh-huh. But 9 cars came for it. And I was on top of the moon saying, how did this happen? Maybe we're on to something. And, so that still remains one of my favorite drives so far, because I think it really put the seed in terms of saying there's more to this than just a passing thought.
Sure.
It was through state highways. It was, the first time we had done a group drive in a car. We've always done bike rides. It was a learning for us as well, for me and Deepak, in terms of what could go differently. Mm-hmm. So that was the first drive and very special personally to me. But the second drive, which comes to mind and which kind of stands out amongst the overnight drives we have done is the one we did to Indore.
Okay.
Indore, is around 580 odd kilometers from Bombay, give or take 20-30 kilometers.
Right.
The only reason we went to Indore was to have the night food in the night food market called Sarafa Bazaar. That was the only reason we drove close to 600 kilometers to another city to have food. There were like 4 cars for that, 12 madcaps, kids. We all had a whale of a time. Just hitting the night food market called Sarafa. That's it. Yeah. That was the only thing that was on agenda.
Yeah, I can totally agree with you on that because it's probably going to be a girl or food that'll drive you that far, right?
Because our wives are listening. It's only the food in our case.
Of course, we're speaking of good old times, right? Now it's just the food.
And we once we're done with Indore, the next day we headed to this place nearby called Mandav,
Right.
which was for a heritage trail. And at 42 degrees, in the heat, we actually had a whale of a time doing the heritage trail there. And we finally settled down into a nice little property called Namadus,
on the
banks of river Narmada. And again, you settle down in a place like that, everything goes right after a couple of years.
Sure.
These two drives really kind of stand out for me.
But what really stands out for me has actually been the last drive that we have done. The last week, where we went to Anjarle beach. This was just this last weekend. The theme for this particular drive was, we call it Shellibration, as in SHELL-bration, because we wanted to go and see the baby olive ridley turtles hatching and then crawling their way into the sea.
There's been a turtle festival, right?
Absolutely. So we went there towards the fag end of the turtle festival, but we were lucky enough to see around 12 really tiny little babies crawl their way into freedom into the sea. And it was also one of the largest drives that we have manned so far. We had 60 people, 12 kids, 5 pets, an amazing set of people who came along with us on this particular trip. And the food and just the feeling of seeing these baby turtles crawl their way was just amazing. One of the best trips that we have done. And I mean, probably throughout the entire life. Brilliant stuff.
Lovely. It's amazing that there's also so much variety, right? When you go with a group, that's one more thing. It throws up new surprises, things that you might not have had an affinity towards. You tend to start liking those because you're traveling with a group and you're exposed to newer things. So that way it diversifies your experiences also as much. So again, doing my quick pitch here, that one more reason. If someone's noting this down, maybe I'll just put everything in the show notes and put up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and maybe the list will go on of so many good things about being a part of a community, especially when one for which you're getting so many benefits out of. I think it's a no-brainer to go ahead and join something like this. But yeah, it's been a brilliant ride so far. Would you guys like to add something more before we kind of inch towards the end of this interview, guys?
For everyone tuning in, I know there are listeners all over the country and all over the world. Right now, we are only the Bombay chapter.
Right.
So this is RTC Mumbai. But the website does not restrict you from which part of the world you're from. Having said that, our drives are going to now expand into other cities. So you'll soon see other new chapters. So you have RTC Mumbai, you'll have RTC Bangalore, Delhi, Pune. We plan to cover the entire country as soon as possible. But if you want to start a local chapter in your city, give us a shout out. The larger thought is also to, create one big gala congregation of everyone who's part of the RTC family, where we all meet and we all just talk about road trips, have a few beers, have some great food, listen to some awesome music. I think those are other things that will actually start building once we actually start expanding in other cities. The power lies with the road tripper. So if there's somebody out there in Calcutta or Delhi or any city in India, now's the chance to actually join the story, be part of it.
Absolutely. I would like to kind of stress on that and give a big shout out to these guys. They're doing this, and for anybody interested to start their own chapter for their city, just reach out to these guys. It's as simple as that. There's no frills, no sketchy things behind going on. It's plain, simple, straightforward, very honest guys dealing with you here. So go for it. If you are an enthusiast of road trips and someone who's looking at doing this with family, with friends, with pets, as Deepak and Vineet put it, go for it. Just sign up for this and take the initiative. It's not as hard, and before you know, you'll be a part of a much larger community that there's a lot of benefits to be leveraged from.
Like we said before, we're not in this for making money on this Road Trippers Club. This is basically to create an awareness which is very necessary today about how beautiful your countryside is. There are plenty of places in India that you can visit before you even take a flight and go outside India to kind of go and see the world. And road tripping is the way to do it. On 4 wheels, you can really enjoy the countryside and experience the countryside that you can never do anywhere else.
My only request to everybody is never drive beyond their comfort zone. I mean, unless and until it's absolutely required, because it's not just you who's driving. There are people with you who depend on you. Somebody is looking forward to seeing you at home. Drive safe. That's the one thing we all need to carry as a message. We all need to do that. And yes, RTC is about camaraderie on four wheels. I'd like to end it with that.
Lovely. And Deepak, any parting words from you?
Just drive safe, but drive for sure.
Lovely. I think on that profound note, I'd like to thank both of you guys for taking up such a brilliant initiative and trying to set up this community where there has been such a gaping hole, a gaping vacuum in the ecosystem, right? So trying to build on this concept of camaraderie and creating awareness amongst the road trippers and road trip enthusiasts while being able to enjoy this with family, with friends and with pets, as you said, and also availing a ton of benefits. Like I said, I will jot down those points in the show notes. So thank you so much. Thank you, both of you, for coming on to the Musafir Stories, and it's one of a kind for us as well, because we have our little celebrities in the two of you come grace this occasion and be a part of this venture, this podcast, which we ourselves are really starting out. So thank you for choosing to come be a part of our story and share awareness among the larger community. Thank you guys, and all the very best to you.
Thank you,
so
Saif.
much.
Thank you, and to be on the show soon again.
Absolutely. We will plan something is in the works, so we will have both of you guys again. Thank you guys.
Awesome. Thanks, Saif.
Thank you.
That was yet another great episode of the Musafir Stories. If you guys like the show, please subscribe to us on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, Audioboom, Savan, Pocket Casts, Castbox, Stitcher, or any other podcasting app available on iOS or Android. Please do leave us a review on iTunes. It goes a long way in the show's discoverability. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. We go by the handle The Musafir Stories. Or, if it suits you, you could email us at themusafirstories@gmail.com or visit our website at www.themusafirstories.com for more information. All of these links will be made available in the show notes section of each episode. So here's to more traveling, sharing, and inspiring. Stay tuned for our next episode. Until then, happy travels and goodbye.